Good to have you here. It is 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, he has been Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. So much to get to the show, SEC Media Days, day 4. We'll be checking in with our own Christian Gokel throughout the show. He's got some great folks set to stop by. Hudson Mason, Roman Harper. We'll hear from Nolan Smith. Didn't get a chance to hear from him yesterday. We'll have that audio for you today. Mark Passwater's talking about Texas A&M. Peter Burns with SEC Network. So a lot to get to in regards to that. It's the ACC kickoff. Jeff Collins supposed to be speaking here in just a little bit in Charlotte. We'll try to get you some audio from that. But the big news today, Ben, with Tennessee, Auburn, and Texas A&M coming to the stage. Obviously, people are going to ask Jimbo about him and Nick Saban. And we'll hear a clip, a comment that he had about that. But before you even had anybody take the stage, and this is all done on purpose, I'm sure, Kirby Smart gets a 10-year deal, $112.5 million to keep him in Athens if he wants to be. And I say that because there's always a, but 10 million or 10 years, $112.5 million for Kirby Smart, which puts him up there amongst the highest coaches in college football. And rightfully so. Mac Brown, Nick Saban, Jimbo, Dabo, Kirby. That's it. That's the 5 coaches that have national championships that are still in college football. That's the whole list. So Kirby up there, and at the, I think it's like a graduated scale, much like you see in Major League Baseball, $112 million. I think at the end, he's making like $12 million a year. So going to be on a graduated scale, but you win a national championship as a coach, those things tend to happen.
Congratulations to Kirby Smart. The fact that it's taking this long. No, I'm sorry.
Well, it was probably released today on purpose.
He probably been new, but it was like, hey, man, listen, we like to make news around here. If you have a nose coach, so could you wait? What? We're going to actually let you go all the way through SEC days. That way people ain't ask you about the contract. And then the day before, and then right before
Jimbo gets up there.
Jimbo goes
by the way.
but no, when you talk about a guy, Kirby Smart, well-deserved. I think, Kevin, show you why, the SEC is what it is. I mean, you started talking about $100 million contracts. I can't remember what Brian Kelly got to go to LSU, but he got some really, really good money. I can't remember what Billy Napier got to be the head coach of Florida, but it's really, really good money. And then you see this. I remember, Kevin, you remember too. I remember when $1 million for a coach was unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
They're giving him what? That's laughable now.
I think Bobby Bowden got $1 million.
Now coordinators at certain schools getting $2 million a year.
Sure.
Kirby Smart earns every dime. When you look at what he's done for the University of Georgia, he did what, the thing about it is 40 years is a long time for any school. But when you look at what Kirby Smart had to build, first year, it didn't really give, a lot of motivation, because he's going through the growing pains. We're like, look, give me the coaches, give me some recruiters, give me these players, give us time. Now, usually, Kevin, they'll give you those first 3 or 4 time. It's not what, especially now.
You're right.
If Kirby Smart is getting hired in 2022, it's not the same level of patience that they gave him when he first. But another thing too is, Kevin, I know that a lot of coaches ain't lasting 4 or 5 years no more either, because
it's amazing because this is a great point you just brought up, because Kirby Smart just got a 10-year deal. Stoops came out there for Kentucky yesterday, and he is like the longest tenured coach that Kentucky's ever had. And this is year 10. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, when you put it in perspective like that, and as you said, it used to be Ben, and again, I'm not going to speak for what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
But you ask why coaches, players, everybody want the big dollars and say, we're taking care of them. Winning a national championship means nothing. It used to be you would say, You won a national championship, Kirby, we'll keep writing you the check.
Yeah.
And you could be here till you want to quit.
Yeah.
Phil Fulmer won a national championship, and they told him to get out. Right? National championship at Auburn, get out. But I just won it 2 years ago. Get out. I mean, it used to be that would be
ran him out of town when you.
You win a national championship. That usually was your ticket. Like, I like where I'm at. Unless you wanted to go to it, hey, I'm at Auburn. I won a national championship. I'm here. This is where we're going to be. 2 years later, he was out.
That begs the question: is the national championship still worth what it once was? Now, meaning
dollars wise, it is.
Dollars wise, it's still. I'm not saying it's not prestigious, right? But as you mentioned, Gene Chizik, 2 years after, 2 years after, you would have thought Gene Chizik, now, true indeed, he did all he could. They were, They were awful.
They went really
But
bad.
here's the thing, though, Kevin. As we mentioned, only certain teams can win it. I don't care. Only certain teams got the infrastructure, got the players, got the talent, so on and so forth. Kirby Smart, he came out a couple of days ago, or whenever it was, saying, look, man, I don't know. He's realized that, listen, it's rough. Because now that I've shown that I can do it, now it's like, okay.
It's almost worse.
Yeah, it's almost.
It used to be the sigh of relief. Got the national championship.
Well, yeah.
All right, I'm secure where I'm at. Now it's almost worse.
Listen, you're in a band. Y'all perform locally, make good money. Somebody hears you at the thing. Now you're selling out arenas. Now, Kevin, you go from, hey, man, we got a session to, hey, get the freaking thing right. Because when people be asking, why is Kirby Smart like that? Why is Nick Saban like that? Why is Dabo Swinney like that? Dude, I don't want to go back to where it was. Look, it took all I could to get here. Dabo Swinney have one bad year. They don't even talk about Clemson. Dabo Swinney got on a pink freaking, a blazer with shorts doing the gritty. Because it's crazy out there for a guy like Kirby Smart. You knew it was going to happen. What he did, what he was able to take Georgia to from what Mark Richt did was incredible. But like you said, Kevin, now it's even worse. I mean, they're showing the whole season right now. They're showing from game 1 to the last championship game. Stetson Bennett, JT Daniels, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. But Kirby knew this. Hey, man, yeah, that's last year. And now we're being celebrated for what we did. But Kevin, you know just like I know, if you don't win it this year, which is extremely hard to go back-to-back in all in all big-time sports, college, pro, it's almost like you start saying to yourself, hey, man, we're paying you this money for what you've done, Kirby. This might not be for what you're going to do. We don't expect you to fall off the cliff, which they're not going to. But, hey, man, congratulations to Kirby Smart. I mean, well-deserved. But, Kevin, this begs the question of what is the limit for coaches now? $112 million in 2022. And things don't happen in 10-year spurts now. Now it's 5-year spurt. Like every 4 or 5 years, everything changes. We're not far away from,
you said it before the show. You said Kirby's getting 10. I understand that. You're like, but Billy Napier's getting 7 and has done nothing at the University of Florida. And again, I'm not saying he didn't get to a point where he could get an SEC job because his credentials say they should. But he came into the league getting $7 million and has never been the head coach of a P5 program.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm not saying go take the money from him. Yeah. No, but as you said, if a guy who has never coached a P5 program is getting $7 million, what's Kirby getting winning a national championship?
The fact that Kirby Smart. No. The fact that Dan Mullen and Kirby Smart was making almost the same thing. Now, because what happens is, Kevin, now you start, once again, Greg Sankey goes, hey, man, who Mark is better than us? Yeah, we got every coach on the planet that coaches college. Oh, they want to be over here. I don't care what they tell you over there. They want to be over here. Why? Because over here, you don't have to win the natty, right? And you're making 7, right? I think Brian Kelly makes more than is making more than Billy Napier. Hey, man, I'm getting the coach of Notre Dame, but got to be able to give him something. The University of Florida didn't have an indoor facility. You know who got an indoor facility? Jim McElwain, not Urban Meyer. Huh? Not Ron Zook. Jim McElwain. Now, so when Billy Napier gets on campus, he goes, wait a minute, man. I got to be known for something. Now they're getting a standalone football facility. This thing is crazy. Right, Kevin? But this is the thing too, right? Kevin, if you are Coach X, that's what people don't get. Hey, man, what are you going to be known for? I get the natty. You want to win the natty. What did you bring on campus? Oh, man, I got to stand alone for this. Hey,
I brought in $150 million in building projects.
Kevin, it's like the Georgia Dome. We blew up the Georgia Dome for what? It wasn't even that old. Hey, man, ain't no flat screens up in here, bro. I just saw the. So all I'm saying
it's unfortunately true.
The new thing is facilities, shiny things, and hopefully the winning. Because good programs benefit from bad seasons. Bad programs can't even benefit from good seasons. But if you are Georgia, you say, hey, man, we got my coach make $112 million. What's your coach? It's like they're out there bragging about everything. But shout out to Kirby Smart, man. Well-deserved.
The happiest guy out there, Nick Saban.
No. Oh, yeah. Once again,
did Kirby make more than me?
No. Mr. Saban
like on a couple dollars.
Mr. Saban goes, what you think Kirby going to get? I heard he's going to get 112. baby, we gonna get
113.
113. Yeah. And think about it, because in a sense, right? Nick Saban goes, no matter what these coaches do, I've done it. Back to back, done it. 1 to 2 schools, done it. I'm just saying, and we are like, Nick has, no. Let me say that. Nick didn't have a bad season. He lost. This is the year to beat them, and they lost to the national champion. But I also had the SEC, and I also had the Heisman, and the best defense player in the country. So Nick Saban goes, just make sure when you talk about us, but hey, man, Kevin, once again, though, man, I make $10 million, $11 million to live in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah,
life is good.
That will go a long way. He is going to be eating the good steak, as people say. No, a lot happening still, though, at SEC Media Days. Of course, everybody awaited today Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, and, of course, people were going to ask him about Nick Saban. I got a little bit of a longer comment here where he comments on Nick Saban and talks a little bit in between about his program. But here's Jimbo Fisher talking about Nick Saban.
Listen, we're great. Two competitive guys that go at it. Listen, we all learn from things we do in our business. You got two competitive guys on a topic that is very everywhere, as they say. There's no rules in this thing and where it goes, and each state has different laws and everything. And like he said, I heard a statement he made, the arguments we had in the staff room and on the basketball court and all those things. But on the basketball court, we didn't have them. We were always on the same team. So we usually had them against other people. So I have great respect for Nick, and that's unfortunately our thing went public, and that's sometimes that happens in this world. Nothing's private anymore, is it? Anyway, but no, we have great respect for Nick, and we all learn from him. We all will learn. Like he said, he was learned. Hopefully I learn from things we do and say, and we move on from there. But have great respect for him and their program like always.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left on the second row.
Coach Fisher, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. You did say some very poignant things about Nick Saban, and then one of your staff members was caught on video telling some recruits that they were going to be paid very well for playing football.
No, it's not what he said. Those guys paid down there very well. And what he meant was he was a young guy, had been there about a month. He was doing a turn. The guys behind those seats are what pay for your program. Those are donations and boosters, and how he said it and how he spoke. Now, we all have NIL? Yes, we do. But that's what he was meaning. And it's a transfer thing that we say with all recruits. The guys behind those things are the guys who pay for our program and what we do and the donations, and that's what it was. He'd been here 1 month.
And what do you take from you worked for Coach, you worked for him at LSU, and you used the terms like organization. What's the thing that you took most from him as influenced your coaching career after working for him and seeing what he's built at Alabama?
I think diversity in organization and the different aspects of a program that they've grown. I think he was one of the first guys into mental health and things, which has been a very forefront thing for me ever since I've been a coach and as an assistant or as a head coach that we put a lot of time in. I think now with jumping out, I used to joke in the ACC meetings. I told some guys sometimes, I said, the head coach, I said, the biggest issue we have in college football and in my is mental health. And he said, well, that's not our problem. I said, well, I think it is for everybody. We just didn't realize it. And I think that was one of the things he was in the forefront about, getting help and getting guys to understand how to handle the different pressures that they go through as a person, and each year it's changing, and because of social media and the different things that are going on, I think it's huge. And I think those aspects in organization, and he's a great football coach.
So Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher are making s'mores, and everything is good, right? Got a lot of, now nothing's private anymore. I mean, Jimbo, you called a press conference to say, why don't we dig up the skeletons in his closet? Why don't we go talk about what's going over there with God? Is that not what he said?
Yeah, he did.
How do you say? Now we're good.
Hold on. But Kevin, did you? Hold on. No. They're holding court. See, this is what for those of you who don't understand what these coaches do. Did you? He was waiting on that. Go ahead. Who gonna ask me the question? Judy Armand here. Drew finna get at it. He was there for a month. No. Whoa. He was there for a month.
What he was trying to say was.
What he was trying to say, well, those people don't see. No. Here's the thought. Yeah, maybe he said what he thought. Maybe he wasn't trying to say anything. You come on, people don't see. No, he said you come here, you get. So what does it mean that you get paid very well here? What are you talking about? But once again, Drew gonna ask the question that everybody wants to know. Jimbo get to show you, hey man, being a head coach means, hey, but I know how to filibuster. I know how to deflect. He said he was here for a month at the beginning of the statement. He said he was here for a month at the end. Now he didn't say he was there anymore. He said he was here for a month. All I'm saying is, when it comes to a guy like Jimbo Fisher, Kevin, you said we're gonna do it.
You're saying that guy might not be employed anymore.
Yeah, talk real fast. We was on the same team. Listen, we don't care what team you was on, basketball team, when y'all used to do the different things, so this, that, and the third. You know that you go to Texas A&M, y'all paying that cheese. The number one money generator in college football, Texas. Number 2, Texas A&M. What they got in Texas? Oh, all right. I ain't getting nobody's.
I just found that funny where he's like, yeah, Nick and I are good, got a lot of respect for him, and unfortunately, not everything can be private. You called a press conference.
I mean, it's
like you called a press conference and said,
like somebody said, hey man,
you made it.
He didn't know that people could hear him. He was mic'd. What are we talking about?
Nick Saban said it at a booster dinner. You called a press conference with media there to say, why don't we look into what he's doing? Why don't we dig into how he coaches? Go ask anybody who's coached for him.
Go ask anybody ever coached for him.
And now
here you go. We're asking you. You coach for him.
And now we're making s'mores, and the kumbaya starts at 7:30 around the campfire. I mean, it's like, it is amazing. I just happened to see that, and I was like, come on, man. Like, you could say, look, we talked it over when we got together. We said it very publicly. Maybe we shouldn't have, but we did.
Didn't like what he said.
And it worked out. Yeah. Didn't like the way he's.
Are you giving the money back, Jimbo? No. Not happening.
So are you saying you don't have boosters who are giving NIL to your recruit?
I'm saying the kid you're talking about been here a month.
Yeah, he's here a month, and now I'm not sure that he's still on campus anymore. He's working at Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
He's
not here in College Station.
He's working at the University of Texas A&M in Oregon. Okay,
yeah.
He's
at a satellite of a satellite campus, and he will not be giving tours.
One thing to do, not get caught on camera, and he got caught. What did I tell you to do?
Hey, when you're giving a tour, don't talk about cash. The end. Oops. I did hear that. That was so that was Jimbo getting a lot in a short amount of time. You also had Auburn there, which I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't grab the sound of it, but Brian Harsin, somebody asked him about Zach Calzada and kind of non-committal about him being the quarterback and saying, hey, he come in and up a little bit. That was our fault because I think when Texas A&M played Auburn, he got hurt. He's like, so we kind of hurt him. So he came in, didn't get a lot of work in, but he's going to be there in the fall. And there's a number of guys who might earn the opportunity to play one of those. He didn't mention him by name, but obviously you have Holden Gerner, who left Benedictine early after the football season to enroll early at Auburn. So might there be a quarterback controversy there in Auburn before it's all said and done? We'll see. Didn't commit to Zach Calzada as a starting quarterback, but obviously a lot happening at Auburn over the last 12 months. And however it turns out for Brian Harsin, which is kind of like the prime Auburn year, right? He got up there with the mic bin and said, just watch and see. Just watch and see. And when people think Auburn's going to finish next to dead last, they'll finish second. And when you say, man, I think Auburn's got the goods this year, 3-6, and it's like, what happened? What happened? So Auburn, an interesting test case there as well.
Brian Harsin understands, Kevin, that all eyes going to be on him in Auburn, not because of necessarily what's going on the field. You just don't know how well he's going to be, welcome, back there, as far as everything that happened in the offseason. But, I mean, these coaches are protecting themselves. I mean, Calzada can look good for another team, come over here with us banged up, and maybe he don't look as good. And all these new quarterbacks that win the new place are supposed to be the saviors, right? What if I get a guy who, hey, man, you're not leaving the school because the previous school you was at, everything was golden, or you will still be there. There was some deficiencies for you as a player and obviously them as a school. You hope it's more the school than them. He's dealing with, what he has. Hopefully Calzada can be the star to come over there, because if not, Tank Bigsby is going to be heated because he already ain't got Bo Nix, who's obviously get to lead the SEC and come back to Atlanta to play them down.
A lot of interesting stuff. And again, we'll see if Holden Gerner out of Benedictine, if he has a chance to get on the field as that quarterback at Auburn. We'll wait and see. A lot more to get to here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to Three and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day, Ben. The media day has been going on. The SEC, ACC kickoff this week as well, and you get this little nugget today. This coming from multiple people. I'll read from Nicole Auerbach of The Athletic. The Division I Council is recommending that the NCAA get rid of the one-time part of its transfer rule. Anyone would be able to transfer and have immediate eligibility if they meet academic standards. Athletes could transfer multiple times and play right away. This, coupled with transfer windows, would allow athletes to compete right away at their new school as long as they have academic eligibility and provide notification to transfer during the transfer window. That was the other thing that came out earlier this week, was NCAA looking at transfer windows. I think one in the fall, winter, and one in May sometime, at the end of the academic year, for guys to put their name in the transfer portal window, whatever you want to say, their intent to transfer. So this is just a recommendation, but Ben, to me, I'll get your take on it. I mean, if this happens, you're worried about, you have coaches saying, hey, we have no guidelines, no guardrails for NIL. They're not supposed to be used for inducements, which means they are. Now you get free transfers, as many as you want to play in your 5-year window. Sounds like wink, wink, nod, nod, free agency, nod, nod, wink, wink across college football at that point.
Well, Kevin, I would.
It's not called that.
Yeah, I would say this. I like it. This is why I like it. This is why I like it. When you start talking about the players, right? The players got to look with so many restrictions that used to go on when I played to now, to where guys are okay. I go to school X, right? I go to school X. It doesn't work out. I want to go to another school, right? That situation could be crazy, right? If another school even allow me to come to them, that's because it's my decisions. Because the coaches do that. Yeah, there was nothing wrong going on in Notre Dame. Nothing was wrong. Head coach said, I want to get out. All right, because Kevin, just like I know, if I'm a player that I want to get coached by a legendary coach, and he's gonna be here. He sat in my living room. My parents have said, hey, man, coach, really looking forward to him coming down. Yeah. And that coach, you don't believe that happens? Yeah. Bob Stoops, his last year at Oklahoma, recruited that recruiting cycle to come back to Oklahoma, and Lincoln Riley became the head coach. They got those guys that they wanted, and Bob Stoops got out. And that's how Lincoln Riley came in. All I'm saying is, it looks good. Somebody said, look, man, if it don't work out here, go somewhere else. Yeah. But Kevin, just like I know this. If your name ain't Jordan Addison, #1 receiver in the country, if you ain't a former 5-star like JT Daniels, right? Keep on thinking that just because it's a rule, because it's the thing, Kevin. If I say, all right, man, I'm giving you full 100% authority over your life and your career. I ain't stopping you. But at a certain point, if I am recruiting you, just say you at your second team. Second team, okay, it happens. Now you're on third team. If I'm that third team, I'm saying, dude, yeah, we don't believe you, right? We ain't. What would make us think? So it looks good for the players, but
so we could have 4 teams in 4 years.
Well, Kevin, think about okay.
Potentially.
Kevin, if this is listen.
Or if you redshirt, 5 teams in 5 years.
If I worked at 3 other radio stations before I got here,
sure.
You're gonna be like, every day you like, listen, what he want to talk to me.
But in business like that, you do have non-competes where it's like, hey, if you leave, position X for 90 days, 6 months, what have you, you cannot go do this. But obviously I understand that's a whole other problem. I'm not trying, but basically what you're talking about is, this is where I think people get interested in, that is with NIL, not supposed to be used as an inducement, wink, wink. I'm not saying the coaches can't leave. I'm just saying, when I look at it and say, okay, if you want to transfer, that's fine. But I think what coaches would look at this and say is, okay, I have a good quarterback. He's playing. He's producing. And now some cat I don't even know offers him $500,000, and now he's gone.
Mhm.
And I think most people would say, how do I keep a team or organization together when you suffer a lot of turnover like that?
Yeah.
I think in business or whatever, if I coach high school football, I know X number of guys are seniors and graduated, X number of freshmen are coming in, and probably
Oh yeah,
X number of guys.
You're the middle school coach that comes
Yeah.
to your high school. You're very
Yeah.
very close to him because you want to see.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Hey, these,
I got these in
Right.
betweeners. They're here, but I got to see what I got
yeah,
coming.
these guys are graduating, these guys are coming
Yeah.
in, and X number of kids are probably going to quit or their parents move or whatever.
Yeah.
So you know that. I think for college and even in the NFL,
Mhm.
you go to the Falcons, they're not a great roster, but at least Arthur Smith knows, okay, I look on my defense. I got 3 guys on 1-year deals. I got 4 other guys on multi-year deals, and I got 1 guy on a long-term deal. So I kind of know what my
Yeah.
team
Mhm.
could potentially look like. You're talking about 85 guys on 1-year deals.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that's not right for the player, but how do you? And Alabama will be, again, like everything. Alabama will be fine.
Mhm.
Georgia will be fine. I think you look at those mid-level programs and say, what if?
Mhm.
What if?
Kevin?
I'm saying, but what if a program wins 8 games? The next year, a couple guys get hurt. They win 3 games. Let's choose NC State. They win 8, 9 games. Then they get a couple guys hurt. They win 6 games. You graduate 20 seniors. 18, 19 kids decide to transfer. All of a sudden, 75% of your roster is gone.
Mhm.
How do you survive in that environment?
It's 4 Ps. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not right. I'm saying how do you?
this is college football as a whole. You got the 4 Ps. First P is product. What type of product are you putting out there? That's why the quarterback room in Georgia hasn't changed. I want to get some of that product. If I only get a year of it, I got to wait on stats, but I want to get a year. Next, production, right? Are you producing, right? The number 3, playing time. But the number 1 P is the promises. What did you tell that player? Because see, Kevin, that's what it is. It's like this. If Kirby says, hey,
He said it in this thing. He said, what are people being promised that aren't going to be delivered on with NIL?
Kevin, that happens in life. Kevin, if we are doing something and somebody says, Kevin, we're going to give you this. That's a promise. And you signed something. You're saying, all right, I'm only doing this because of that, right? Because of this right here, I'm doing it. You get there and that's not there. You go, see, that's what it is. You know, you got the product, you know, you got the production, you got the playing time, and you got the promises. The promises are the biggest reason why guys going to leave, more than anything. And for those people saying, well, being the season, you just said, I started 1 year in Florida. I was a backup to the backup, you know, my first year. I was I guess kind of like more of a true backup my second year. I was a true backup my second and third years, and then I was ready to be, a starter my senior year. Now, people go, why do you do that? Because I'm looking at that product every year. I go, dude, I want some of that. It just ain't my time yet, right? So I think what happens is, Kevin, how do you keep them there? Don't lie to them. Like, I don't know why. Don't lie to them. Say, hey, we're going to recruit the best players every year. Remember, you was part of the number 1 recruiting class? Well, we had number 1 recruiting class before you too. We're going to get the best players. So you were the number 1 tight end. We're trying to get the number 1 tight end again. So when you leave, we want somebody to look just like you, if not better than you. When you say, hey, man, we recruiting the best players, you're going to play. That's all I heard. I heard you say I'm going to play. Yeah. Now I got the opportunity to play. No, I'm an 18-year-old. You got to say it straight to me. Don't give me any room, right? I'm a horse with them blinders on. You better, you want me to see straight. Because, Kevin, this is the thing. They didn't tell JT Daniels he was going to start when he came to Georgia. That's what the fans kept saying. Why would Kirby tell somebody ain't never seen play that just left the team that recruited him, he going to play here? It's like, I'm sorry. Trevor Lawrence got recruited by a team, played for a team. Kelly Bryant got lied to. Hey, Kelly, because Kelly Bryant didn't do anything those first 4 games tonight. No, they told Trevor, Kelly's going to play the first 4 games. He's going to start, and then you're going to go in. What? He's going to play, right? Because all I'm saying is, Kevin, you know just like I know, right? How did I know when lies are being told? Yeah, when guys are leaving. Somebody told me, man, if I come here, I don't know everything that was said, but that's when I know we're going to get to Peter Burns or, different guys are saying, look, man, what makes college football bad is the lying. Just tell the truth. Why? Well, being that we tell the truth, man, they might not want to come. I'd rather them not come from telling the truth than them come because I lied. Because when they're gonna get here on campus, Kevin, you have 2 sons, I have a son. If they tell your son something, you go, all right, but your son told you. That's his guarantee, just in case he forget. You won't. Hey, what's going on with that? Oh, Dad, it's cool. No. No, it's not. Coach, listen, when you ain't gonna say coach, you're gonna say, coach, hey, let's have a man to man, let's talk. Cause you ain't finna take mine and lie to him. See what I'm saying? So those promises are the big reason. Hey, Kevin, people are gonna transfer regardless. I'm not saying people.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying,
but you listen. When people, the question of how do we keep them here? You can't. You can't make them stay. These are kids that listen. An 18-year-old that's in college, that play for Georgia, and an 18-year-old that go to Georgia, both like to play video games. What make you think he's different than them over there? I want to play video games too. I love Minecraft and all that stuff too. I'm just the biggest. Because think about it. John Calipari said, he goes, man, we walk into a building, somebody go, that dude's 7 feet tall, and he's 18 years old, and he like to eat candy. Like, y'all need to stop this. They're not better at life. They're just great players. Stop acting as if young people making grown-up decisions is what has to happen. And unfortunately, sometimes they're going to make the wrong one. Coaches say, I can't wait to be here, and they gone the next year. The kid at Oklahoma told Lincoln Riley, said something at USC. The dude said, you told us that 2 weeks ago. You told us that when you had on the Sooner, Garnet. So, hey, you can't keep them there, but hey, we'll see how the rule works. But Kevin, because they can always go back on it. Just because they say it's okay, they can always, renege.
Yeah, hey, we got more to come here. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. to have you back here. It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, SEC Media Days going on from the ATL. A lot happening there this week with all the coaches making their rounds there in Atlanta. Our own Christian Gokel's been on site all week doing a great job filling us in. And we check in with Christian one more time. He's sitting alongside Peter Burns, SEC Network.
Our next guest has the second best mustache in the game right now, just behind Miles Teller.
Oh,
Just behind Miles Teller,
golly.
sweeping the nation from SEC Network. Peter Burns got enough to take a couple minutes with us here on Radio Row. What went into the decision? Did you see Top Gun and get inspired?
Christian, it was that. It was watching Ted Lasso.
Okay.
It was like I found some old pictures of my dad, and he totally had the Ron Burgundy stash rolling back in the day. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a little fun on media days. And then I was only going to do it the first day, and then it's become this obnoxious thing afterwards that I think I've pissed off so many people wearing it that I'm just like, I think I might roll with it. So, but it's fun, man. I think you and I were talking about it right before we started. Is like, this is such a good, fun week.
Yeah.
That, you go on vacation, you get away after the College World Series for us and what we do. And this is the official, okay, it's time. Like, it's go time. And we finally get a chance to talk a little football.
Yeah,
And by the way, I'm jealous of you because you live in maybe arguably one of the best spots. Like, I love where we live in Charlotte, but to be down in Brunswick, like, I got an opportunity to play with the great Steve Meldick at Brunswick Country Club this year and fell in love. I had so much fun playing that track out there.
my buddy Jason Webster, I think he came in third this year in the club championship. So he's listening to this right now.
Oh,
So
the
Peter loves
lunch
your
that we had over there
Yeah.
was just as good as the golf. And I think I shot even par. So now, like, anytime you play a golf course and you play really well there, you're like, I can't wait to go back. So I'm all in. Anytime I can come back, I can't wait.
Plenty of options to play there as well.
Oh,
But this is just such a wonderful weekend. I was just talking with our friends from Arkansas across the row. It feels like leading into this, we maybe weren't giving the attention it deserved because there's big philosophical conversations that we're having about college football. But this is a really good SEC this year. Like, quarterbacks, amazing defenders, phenomenal wide receivers. It just feels like we've been missing that. This week we're narrowing it down to that.
Yeah, and I think the reason why, I'm glad you brought up that point, because I think that's been missed a lot, is the fact that, like, if the NFL had media days where they got all 32 teams together, it would feel a lot like this, to where there's a lot of really good teams, and in years past, it kind of felt like there were, 4 or 5 teams that you're like, I mean, you're lucky you got them on the schedule. That ends up being a win. I don't think that day is here any longer because, Kentucky continues to play well. Tennessee made a run. South Carolina, the way they rolled, and now they got Spencer Rattler. Even Mississippi State has bringing everybody back. I think they will shock people. Like, the parity of this league, I don't know if it's ever been as good, and that's because the transfer portal, guys want to play here because nobody else has a conference like this that has hundreds of media members that show up in the middle of July to talk football. Right. It's amazing.
Let me ask you this. A ton of early season matchups that are just marquee games. We really haven't seen them. It kind of feels like back when we had the NCAA football game.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Could create a schedule, right? I'd
either do that or I'd play like Prairie View A&M or Florida A&M like the first game and run up like a bajillion points. So my guys were like,
got to win the Heisman, right?
Yeah, so the guys were in the Heisman. Like, I got to the point in NCAA football, I would legitimately redshirt a Heisman because I had another guy that I had recruited that was so good. Like,
can't be selfish with the Heisman.
And we're almost, and we're a year away from the tournament for the video game coming back.
So ready for it. But I was going to ask, I don't know which ones you're working at. I don't know if you found out yet, but which early season game sticks out in your head? You're like, I'm really excited to see that one.
Well, I mean, that opener with Georgia, Oregon is so juicy because Dan Lanning leaves. He goes there, and the first job is like, all right, this is the team that I know, right? I know how Kirby works in his offseason. I think that's fascinating. But I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so now the changing of the guard with Brian Kelly being the head man over at Tiger Stadium, that game just right down the road in Superdome on that Sunday night against Florida State, I think it's huge. Right. And another one, Florida and Utah. And the reason why I bring up Florida, Utah as an opener for the Gators, just like LSU and Florida State, is both of those coaches, brand new, need to have a good start.
Yeah.
And, if you're Brian Kelly and you lose that first game in purple and gold in the Superdome where you've won 3 national titles, that's awkward right off the bat. And honestly, you look at Florida's schedule, you could go 1-4 and not play bad football.
Yeah.
It's crazy right now.
It's a brutal opening schedule. And
Yeah.
you mentioned Florida's opening schedule, Kentucky, week 2 coming in, their first SEC game. And
Yeah.
I was talking to a Kentucky reporter a little bit earlier. It's wild now that we're saying Kentucky should probably be the favorite heading into the game. How often do we say Kentucky should be the favorite heading into the Swamp?
Very rarely, and that's a credit to what Mark Stoops has built. And that's we talk about, like, some people at the end of the week were like, well, media days, what did we learn? I can tell you this. I learned a lot from Mark Stoops about 4 or 5 years ago, that first 10-win season, because I remember him coming off the podium and everybody was kind of like, all right, Mark Stoops, whatever. And he was upset.
Yeah.
He was upset that nobody was giving him credit. And he cornered me in a hallway one day and he's like, this is ridiculous. I'm not getting any, these dumb questions about our team as if we're going to win a damn game. And I'm like, oh, he thinks they're really good. And so I went all in on Kentucky that year and they won 10 games. So, it's what he's built. It's what, Sam Pittman at Arkansas is trying to build is the consistency that Mark Stoops has had. The fact that Florida State had a pretty good opportunity to hire Mark Stoops about 4 or 5 years ago and decided, it's not a big deal. We don't think he's the right fit. It's just so laughable. And I'm happy for Mark because he's built a really strong program there.
Peter, before we let you get out of here, number 1 stash in the history of movies.
It's hard to go past. You see, I'm going to take it not from movies, and I'm a huge Alex Trebek fan. And
That's
Alex just had
one.
that Canadian stash that was just like, it just added this certain level of
With the
gravitas. And with the perm, do yourself a favor. Not now if you're driving and listen to this. Just Google shirtless Alex Trebek. I'm going to leave you with that. You'll never be able to unsee it, but it's the greatest thing ever.
No, you won't want to unsee it. You should have it posterized. Peter Burns kind enough to take some time with us here as we're getting ready. Just 45 days away from the first full Saturday of college football. Peter, thank you so much for taking the time.
Chris, appreciate it, man.
I'm not Googling that, by the way, Ben. I'm not. I don't want to see Alex Trebek shirtless in any way, shape, or form.
Listen. Number one, I love Peter Burns. Peter Burns is a guy that, I like how he says, remember how I tell you, Kevin, what makes us as college football fans different? He says, man, I'm born and raised Baton Rouge. Like, it goes against everything I know and love and my principles to root against LSU. But he also says LSU got Florida State. He got to have a good showing. He talked about, Billy Napier going up against Utah, got to have a good showing.
Yeah.
How, Coach Mark Stoops said, you don't think we're going to be good and all these different things. But he did say something. It's the official kickoff, man. It's understanding. I mean, Peter Burns, a guy that works for SEC Network, has to have a crazy mustache like we don't know who he is. Come on, man. You
trying to be incognito. When I first saw him this week on SEC Network, I'm like, who is that? That Peter Burns trying to write? I mean, and by the way, I have the best. And he just, what little you can see, I don't know. We'll come back. It's 3 all across the Southern Big Skin Radio Network. It was Auburn, Tennessee, Texas A&M. They're at the podium today in Atlanta. We'll hear from Mark Passwaters, the Aggie Yell, about Texas A&M coming up a little bit later in the show. Jimbo Fisher talking about a mile a minute. Tennessee trying to stake their claim as being back, and Auburn just trying to reassure us that there is no mess on the plains. Everything is back in working order.
Yeah, well, for Brian Harson, I mean, sorry, Brian, but if you look at the toilet paper, they've thrown it all around Tipper's Corner. You ain't gonna be what? You're gonna have to deal with those sheets being what they are.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I mean, Kevin, it is day 4. If you have survived this long,
That's right.
congratulations. You will be sleeping as soon as the last person steps off the
Yeah,
podium.
it is a slog to get through. When you get there, it's like whoever the last guy up there, you probably get the easiest question, like, man, we ready to get out of here. Like, what? Are you gonna say anything?
Coach, are you
new?
excited to be here?
Yeah.
I am.
Are you
not?
Yeah, are you gonna say anything new? Because if not, we're out. We will see you later. It's gonna be nothing but us and the guys cleaning up. When we're all said and done here. But we'll come back. More to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, hour 2. We'll hear from Mark Passwaters, Aggie Yell, talking Texas A&M. They were up there at the podium today, Ben, and Jimbo Fisher talking about that guy was there for a month. We're not telling players they're getting paid. Me and Nick are cool. We sing Kumbaya and bake s'mores, and I'm sorry that nothing can be private anymore. But you called a press conference, Jimbo.
Sorry, thing can't be private. I'm sorry. No, that's what it is. But you called a press conference. What did you say your name was? Kevin Thomas.
Yeah.
ESPN coach.
Yeah,
you
get
called
out.
a press conference. That kid has been here for a month.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
But you called a press conference to go after
Are you
Nick
telling me
Saban.
the people that's been there for a year wouldn't have said it?
We would have coached him up better to say you say that after they committed that they're going to get paid. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to more of that coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. Ben, take 1, MLB Network, as we get the second half underway tonight. Braves won't start back till tomorrow. MLB Network made some bold predictions. One of their bold predictions was the Angels would trade Shohei Ohtani to the Braves. Could the Braves get Shohei Ohtani? I know it's a bold prediction.
All right. Okay. Now, Kevin, you know just like I know, you are not going to get, Ohtani for nothing. Now, I know the Braves got one of the best, if not the best farm system in baseball. The problem with their farm system, they're really, really good. Like when they get called up, they're really, really good. But, Kevin, I'm just saying, I've seen a lot of guys come through the Braves for a year. I've seen Soler, Rosario obviously came back, and John Peterson, and Shohei Ohtani wearing the Braves blue. I'm gonna say this: as long as it don't have to do with Acuna, Riley, Albies, Olsen,
Anybody that plays.
and Riley. I mean, anybody. Harris,
Dansby Swanson. Yeah.
Swanson. Nobody in field. Nobody. Well, left field.
Yeah.
Nobody in center field or right field. And listen, and Max Fried and boom. Because here's the thing, Kevin. Sometimes you got these expiring contracts. You want to let a guy. They're obviously gonna do right by the time. If Alex Anthopoulos can find a way to pull that off, I mean, even if it's for a playoff run, I will take it. This is the problem, though, Kevin. This is the problem. Just say you do get it, Kevin, and just say the Braves do what they did last year. You got to try to find a way to keep him? Because that's the thing, Kevin.
Maybe, but here's the thing. Here's what I would say. I when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a bold prediction. Then I started thinking about it, I was like, this could actually be doable if you're the Braves, depending on what your expectations are. And hear me out. You're not getting Shohei Ohtani half, $400 million contract Shohei Ohtani. You're getting Shohei Ohtani year 2 of a 2-year, $8 million deal, Shohei Ohtani. That's what you're trading for. He is a franchise player. Yes. So you're trading for a franchise player on an expiring contract. So what does that mean the Angels want? They either want a top prospect, a guy that can play at the major league level, maybe a little bit of cash, right? Because you're not going to give up you're not going to give up a whole bunch of dudes for 2 months. Now, are you going to give up something? Of course, it's Shohei Ohtani. But the more I think about it, one of your top prospects is Braden Shoemake. Braden Shoemake was first-round draft pick. He has now ascended to AAA for the Gwinnett Stripers. You currently have Dansby Swanson. Do you want to re-sign Dansby Swanson? Yes, you do. I think it should be a priority. I would offer Braden Shoemake, high-level shortstop prospect, could also play second base, to the Angels. I would say, hey, obviously that may not be enough to get it done. Would you like to take Marcell Ozuna for the rest of this year? We'll eat the salary for the rest of this year. You get a player. And maybe say Orlando Arcia. Say, look, so you're getting 2 major league players and our top prospect. We get Shohei Ohtani for 2 months. I would do that if I'm the Braves, because then it puts a priority on re-signing Dansby Swanson, which I think they want to do. But you didn't give up a ridiculous amount. Like, I think people say, oh, you're going to trade for Shohei Ohtani. They're going to want 8 prospects. You're not giving away that kind of stuff for 2 months. You're not. And you go, well, what could Shohei do? Well, if Marcell Ozuna's gone, he could DH. He could play right field. And you go, well, Acuna plays right field. Sorry, Ronald. You're going to play left field now. It's fine. Or a Shohei. You play left field and you pitch. So you solve a couple of problems if you're the Braves. You get a DH bat. He can obviously hit. He can play left field if you want him to. Maybe you could get by with Duvall out there and just say, Shohei, we just want you to hit. And then you solve a pitching problem. And you say, well, what's the pitching problem? Spencer Strider. He is way past any amount of career innings he has ever pitched in one season before. And now Shohei can come in and pitch. So you could potentially say, Shohei, we want you to pitch every 6th day and mash. Right? We don't even need you to pitch right now as much as the Angels want you to pitch, but we do want you to be fresh for a postseason run. I think this might actually be doable. People are probably laughing at me saying, Kevin, you're a Braves homer. Maybe. But if the more I think about it, if you are serious, I think the Braves have the wherewithal to do it. Now, that being said, I think if you do this move, don't plan on Shohei Ohtani being a Brave long term. I think you got Max Fried, Austin. You got other guys. But if you're talking about locking it up for a playoff run, I think this might actually be doable. I think it might actually be doable to get Shohei for 2 months.
Well,
I do.
This is why I think it'll be doable.
Because then the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets are going to throw huge cash out there.
All those things you just named. And Shohei can say, hey, man, for the first time, people can see me, right? They can see me more. And prime time, we're talking about going to the playoffs because the Braves are going to get in either by winning the division or getting as a wild card. And the thing about it is, people say, well, why don't everybody knows who Shohei Ohtani is. Everybody knows who he is. But seeing him on the big stage is what he really wants. And if you are Addison Anthopoulos, and you're going, look, man, essentially, we come off easy either way. I am not giving away guys that are currently proven players. And unfortunately, when you get drafted by a team, that doesn't mean that's who you're gonna play with when you get called up. You want to make it to the big leagues, right? Yeah, we gave you a signing bonus, didn't we? We have done our job for you. If you help us get Shohei, congratulations, you have done more for this organization without actually putting on the Braves uniform than most people who do. So yeah, Kevin, I will say this though. Shohei Ohtani is in that Braves blue. Woo! Gonna have to get one of them jerseys quick because they're gonna come off the shelves quick. I just think it's very, very doable because two things it shows. One, the Braves are a contender to where a guy like Addison Anthopoulos got to be aggressive in trying to go get him. And number two, which is most important, when you play for a team that is credible, that is good, stars want to play there. Stars, even if it's for a very, very limited role. Shohei say, look, man, I'll go from the West Coast to the ATL, find a way to Shohei Ohtani, potentially. You got a lineup. They got Shohei, Acuna, oh my God, Austin Riley, Olsen, Swan.
I think it could be.
My God.
Maybe I'm living in La La Land.
No,
I don't
Kevin,
know. But
no, do it. Why not?
All right, Ben, take two. We kind of talked about this earlier in the show, but the NCAA panel has suggested allowing open transfer provided you meet academic qualifications in college athletics, meaning I am a college athlete, Ben. I could potentially go to 4 schools, 4 years, play right away, no sitting out. Do you like that as a rule?
I do. Because, Kevin, this is the thing, right? Kevin, we have kids. And I'm not comparing this rule to kids. Sometimes you let your kids do things, right? Because they think you're trying to hold them back. Oh, why we got to do this? Oh, why we got to do that? All right. Have it your way. Because I know how this ends. So I'm going to let you have it your way, right? Because people seem to think that rules are bad. No, rules help form structure. Without rules, there is no structure for anything. It's just we got speed limits, right? People still speed. Most people don't. But some of us do, right? And just in case you get caught, there is consequences. Now you go to school it didn't work out for you. You don't want to be here anymore. So you go to school. Why? Now people, that's normal. This is the thing though, Kevin. Now your name's in the portal again. Wait a minute. It sounds like whether it's perceived or not, yeah, you don't want to compete. See, that's what people ain't telling you. At a certain point, it's you. Like, I get it. If I didn't go to the right school, man, it happens. I go to school. I get that part. I'm going to school. Why? Well, bro, you're running out of letters in the alphabet, right? Because you're starting at the end. So while you're giving them full autonomy, you're giving them full, responsibility, taking full control of their own careers and decisions. At a certain point, Kevin, if I've had, I mean, how many jobs you had in the last, 4 years? 10. Did you get fired or did you quit? Well, a little bit of both. That means you're not accountable. So let this happen, because I guarantee you this. They should put out a list every day to every college student to show them, to every student athlete, every day they get their locker. They should put out a little book. Hey man, these are all the people these are all the guys that's in the transfer portal. Dude, he's in the, and they should put how long they've been in there. Yeah. All I'm saying is, Kevin, I think it is a step in the right direction, because the NCAA is trying to earn some. This is about the NCAA trying to earn some credibility, because they don't do anything. They don't do anything. I don't know, and so that it's more about that, and they're trying to clamor to the players a little bit, and let make the players think we care about them. We don't, but let's just let them act like we do. Because Kevin, you know, just like I know, right? We care about the players we can see. That is sports. We care about the players who aren't injured. We care about the players who are there. If you are in the transfer portal, sometimes you come out. Sometimes you've never seen or heard from again. You want to know how a lot of these FCS programs get these big time players? Transfer portal. Right, wrong, indifferent. Some of these guys, your talent level was good enough to play at a certain level. It didn't work out. Go back in the portal. Well, this level ain't calling. FCS over there is like, what's up? Do you want to play football or not? I think it's a step in the right direction, Kevin. But you know, just like I know, things will be taken advantage of before they are appreciated. People are gonna kill. They're gonna say, I'm gonna go. And when the transfer portal headquarters no longer has any room left for anybody in it, they're gonna start saying, all right, man, let's try to put some guardrails on this thing.
Going to be interesting to see how it goes. We got finally quick take 3. Ben, ACC kickoff was today. Is anybody challenging Clemson in the ACC? And I say that we all think Clemson had a bad year. They won 10 games last year, got a lot of guys coming back. Nobody saw Pitt or Wake Forest last year happening. But is anybody challenging Clemson now in 2022?
Yes, Kevin, and I'm going to give you a team that always does it to themselves every year, and this is the moniker every year. It's NC State. NC State is good enough to challenge Clemson. Problem is, NC State will lose to a team that they should beat. NC State is going to be very, very good this year. You know, if you're looking for sound bites for the head man, well, good luck with that. But I just think the NC State is going to be better. People give them credit for. Miami's getting all the headlines with Cristobal coming back. You know, the transfer. I'm talking about the recruiting and all these different things. But for my money, I think it's going to be NC State. We'll see what happens. But you know, for the ACC's sake, you're gonna want it to be a Miami or or maybe a North Carolina, because once again, Kevin, they commissioner, he be up there trying to put out fires when he up there, because he's trying to talk about their contract, who's gonna compete, who could they bring in. A lot of answers. I mean, a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. For my money, it's gonna be NC State gonna challenge Clemson, but for the ACC's money, they're gonna want it to be Miami.
Hey, that's a good guess. I think people are waiting for NC State to put it together. They have a large fan base. They've recruited well. As you said, they're kind of the new age Clemson, where you're going, that loss just doesn't make any sense. And Ben, how dare you say we disrespect Dave Doeren? We got a clip. We got a clip of him talking about his team. Dave Doeren talking about NC State. Roll it. I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up, Ben, I don't know what does.
Let me tell y'all something.
I don't know what does.
If we can get a picture of this, there's a picture of us at AC Media Days. Coach Dave Doeren is coming out of the room. He got on a suit, and he's looking at, and like he comes
I'm
out,
getting the stink eye.
and he's looking at Kevin like, if he even we're trying to get Dave Doeren to sit down and give us some clips, but he was like, I ain't sitting down with none of y'all right now. I heard what y'all be saying.
We got more to come. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It is 3 and Out here on this Thursday, final day of SEC Media Days. Texas A&M in the house. They, of course, big money on Jimbo Fisher. Big money talking about in NIL. Big-time expectations with the recruiting class, number one class in the country. A lot of folks waiting for them to contend consistently to win the West. Did beat Alabama last year. Our own Christian Gokel there at SEC Media Days has a chance to catch up with Mark Passwaters, Aggie Yell, on the expectations this year with this Texas A&M bunch.
Now, coming into this, what do you feel like the storyline that people should be paying attention to around Texas A&M? Because there's so many from the offseason that have been so big, but mainly for this fall, what should we be paying attention to?
Is this the year? Is it this year? Is it next year? Are they ever going to get over the hump? Because it's, the team has gotten to the point where it is competitive at a national level. It's 8-4 last year, but 8-4 with a backup quarterback who had one tremendous game and was not good otherwise.
Right.
And, the opportunities are there for them to be a whole lot better. They've got more depth at quarterback. They've got at least 2 guys who can function. And, the rest of the depth chart looks pretty darn strong.
Let's talk about that quarterback room. How do you feel like it's going to shake out?
Well, it's anybody's guess at this point. It's either Haynes King, who started last year before he got hurt, or Max Johnson, who was the starter at LSU and put up surprisingly impressive numbers on a team that was just absolutely battered by injuries last year. And the offensive line was not good. But still 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You heard the LSU players on Monday talk about how much respect and admiration, even love they had for the guy. You have a guy with more athletic ability than King, a guy who's running in the low 4.5s, high 4.4s in the 40 against a guy who has proven that he can handle the pressure of the SEC. And, the real question is who's going to win out and, who's going to make the better decisions to just not turn the ball over.
Now, the weapons that are there, right? Spiller being gone is a tough loss, but so many weapons around the board. We really saw them. I think most people know the full display of that Jimbo Fisher offense was the Alabama game. That's what we saw, just clicking on all cylinders. Who are the weapons we need to be paying attention to? And do you think that they can find a way to take that sample size of that game on offense and spread it out over a 12-game schedule?
I think it starts with Devon Achane, the guy who returned the kickoff against Alabama for the touchdown. As Brad Nessler put it so well, if he's even, he's leaving. You're talking about a guy with world-class speed and average 7.5 yards a carry, closer to 8 over his first 2 seasons. This guy is remarkable. Then you kind of got some question marks. You got Ainias Smith, who people know as an established quality, and then you've got a lot of young guys. Evan Stewart was a 5-star. Chris Marshall, depending on which website you're on, was a 5-star. Donovan Green and Jake Johnson were the 2 best tight ends in this 2022 class. They need some of these younger guys to step up and help Ainias, Moose Muhammad, guys like that. But the potential is really off the charts. It's just how long does it take for them to get acclimated, and can these quarterbacks get them the ball?
Now, an SEC that has maybe the best collections of quarterback in the country, gonna have to play some defense. Going over to that side of the ball, there's been some games where Texas A&M looks like they're getting it figured out last year, and then there's some games where it doesn't look like they can stop anybody. Going into this season, when you're looking at it, what do you think was the first thing that needed to be addressed? Because I know they went and got a bunch of defensive linemen, but they're all babies right now.
Well, you're going to see a lot of those babies on the field because they're really good babies.
They're really big ones too.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing was they're going to have to develop a pass rush because DeMarvin Leal and Tyree Johnson and Michael Clemens, those guys were able to get pressure on their own. But they weren't real speed guys. They were just kind of, well, Tyree was, but the other 2 are more physical. They're just going to push you back into the quarterback. So they've got to find a pass rush. They've got to find some speed rushers. I think that they've got some real options there. They're going to be really tough to run on. They're going to be extremely tough to run on. The guys in the middle are just huge, and they can rotate them. They can go 3 deep and not skip much of a beat. The secondary is going to be outstanding, I think. They can rotate a bunch of guys at corner. You're talking guys, you got a 6-year senior, a 3-year starter, and those guys don't even have job security going into the summer because there's that much talent behind them. So it's going to be, I think that defense is going to be very, very good. I think the bigger questions are on offense, and it all goes back to that quarterback.
Yeah. Now, looking at this SEC West, obviously everybody's chasing Alabama, but right now, where do you think A&M stacks up? If you had to guess, I know there's a lot of teams right now. Arkansas was excellent last year. Ole Miss was a 10-win football team for the first time in the history of their program. Right now, where do you feel like with this roster and the quarterbacks, A&M stacks up?
Well, I think you got to put Alabama at the top simply because October the 8th occurs in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
And, there's obviously some significantly bad blood between those two programs. And you can't ignore the fact that Georgia is the defending national champion, and they're bringing back a lot of guys and had another great recruiting class. So, I mean, those two guys are at the top, but I think A&M is team 3 behind them. And you take a look at A&M's roster, it's still really, really young. I mean, next year if they don't win a lot this year, they should. I don't know if they're going to be a college football playoff team, but the expectations for 2023 should absolutely be CFP or bust, because they're going to be loaded and then they'll be experienced. So, I think that they're on the ascendant, but they still have 2 massive hurdles to overcome in Alabama and Georgia.
Now, again, we're catching up with Mark Passwaters from AggieYell.com. You can follow him on Twitter at MVP Rivals. You beat Alabama. That's just going to build the hype going into the offseason. I think what you just said right there, 2023, this is going to be one of the best teams in the country just based off the math of recruiting, right?
Right.
We always see Alabama, Ohio State. Now we see Georgia, Clemson up there as well for a really simple reason. They recruit better than anybody, and now Texas A&M is starting to stack that. So next year, I think they're going to be a known commodity. But when you beat Alabama, there's going to be so much expectations going into that season.
Right.
Do you think A&M fans need to temper those at all, or do you think this team could push for a double-digit win season?
Well, I think that, they should be expecting double-digit wins. I mean, the expectations should be high. The time for A&M fans to sit there, and as a former athletic director, and he's former for good reason, said, you need to temper your expectations. No, that time is past.
Yeah.
You're filling up 102,000 seat stadium. You have outstanding recruiting classes that you're starting to stack one on top of the other. You've got depth across the board. Why shouldn't expectations be high? I mean, the only excuse that they have this year is, well, we're going to be young. Okay, well, if you take that away next year, what is there? I mean, you're going to have another recruiting class on top of that.
Yeah.
So if you can keep all your players there and, the potential becomes production, absolutely the expectation should be through the roof.
Looking at the schedule, you kind of get the warm-up matchup against Sam Houston, but after that, man, you think you got 2 – if fans are looking at that and saying, hey, we have 2 cupcakes in a row, I don't know if they're watching enough Sun Belt football, which I don't know if enough people watch enough Sun Belt football, but App State coming to town, that's going to be a legitimate test for a team that's going to be young and having some positions, as you said, that are still trying to shake out. Should still win the football game, but a good test. After that, welcome in Miami, and then Arkansas at Jerry World, at Mississippi State, at Alabama. Yeah. That's a tough start to the season.
Yeah, that's not fun. But I mean, welcome to the SEC West. You're going to have to face these guys at some point, and I think that it's going to be. You pointed to App State. That game is vitally important because that's where you've got to really start to shake off the dust, figure out what your rotation's going to be, and you've got to start playing error-free football.
I don't know why anybody schedules App State early.
Well, you can't schedule them late. Yeah. How would you like to have your Cupcake Saturday in November and they're coming to town?
Yeah.
No, I'd rather have Austin Peay or UMass or somebody like that. I think it's not a challenge with respect to you're going to lose the football game in all likelihood, but it's a challenge that you're going to face a well-coached, very disciplined, experienced team, and you've got to match that and show that you're superior, in terms of talent, in terms of your discipline, and in terms of your overall game plan, because after that, that next month is going to be a death march.
Yep. Again, catching up with Mark Passwaters here, A&M. One of the bigger storylines. Can't wait for Jimbo Fisher to take the lecture in there, because I'm sure all the questions will be just like nice and softballs for him as he gets up there. Mark, I appreciate the time so much. Again, really good to see you in person. It's one of my favorite things about media days. All the people we talk to all year get to catch up in person. Really good catching up.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.
That was Mark Passwaters, Rivals. and Aggie Yell joining our own Christian Gokel there at SEC Media Days. Aggies taking their turn with the media today there in Atlanta. And is this the year? He started off by asking that. I guess one will have to wait and see. Alabama looks awfully tough. We'll come back. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. SEC Media Days wrapping up today. You also had the ACC kickoff the last 2 days. A lot going on in that league. Ben, before we talk about that, Jim Phillips talking about the future of the ACC. He is the new commissioner within the last 2 years of the ACC and the direction of that league.
Of course, the recent announcement of 2 Pac-12 schools pending move to the Big Ten in 2024 set off a flurry of conversations both inside and outside of our league. While I won't go into details of those conversations, I will tell you that while the ACC is strong, we are continually evaluating all options that could further strengthen our conference, and we are engaged in ongoing dialogue with our media partners. There's been a lot of rumors and speculation the last few weeks, and I understand we all want answers and certainty. With that said, these decisions will impact our member institutions and student athletes for years to come, and all options must be carefully evaluated. A year ago, we were talking about the same thing. And so truly over the last 18 months, it's been my primary focus. We were able to get distribution done. We have some other things coming forward relative to what we're going to do in partnership with some revenue consultants that I'm really excited about being able to release that maybe by the end of the month. We're looking at our TV contract. We're in engagement daily, I would just say almost daily, with our partners at ESPN. And I openly talk about ESPN because we are 50-50 partners on our network. And so they're motivated, we're motivated, and we've come together to have some discussions about what would be the next iteration for the ACC. Doesn't mean we're going to make a move, doesn't mean we're not going to make a move, but all options are on the table. Revenue is certainly one piece and a really big piece as we move forward. But I will say it again, we need all communities healthy. And I mean, when you think about where we're at right now, we're probably in the gated community as one of 5. Maybe you know, people have a different line of demarcation about who's in there. It really doesn't take away from, we're going to continue to try to find new ways to generate revenue for our conference. For our 15 schools we are really aligned to try to find some solutions to that revenue gap. But it can't be at the expense of all the other things that we're doing. And so there's I think a really good plan for us as we move ahead. Again, considering all of our options. And in these kinds of times, you have to do that. This is unique, what's happened over the last 12 months. Everything's on the table. We understand what that means. We understand what that revenue means moving forward. But I will also say, as I look at the next few years, I like where we're going. But again, the window's through 36. So we're going to have to address it, no question.
That's Jim Phillips. Again, sounds like a guy that understands the problem, at least, of, hey, SEC and the Big Ten are where they're at. Why? Because they're making way more money than everybody else. He talked about, hey, we need all neighborhoods healthy, not just a gated community. And then admitted, hey, well, we might be inside that gated community for the time being, but the HOA might come kick us out. If we don't pay the dues. So I think he sounded like a guy that's like, look, when you keep reiterating that all options are on the table and then say we were trying to address the revenue gap, we're trying to work with ESPN, that means you're trying to better your media deal. That to me sounds like a conference that he kind of said, that doesn't mean we're going to expand. That doesn't mean we're not. Well, when you say all that other stuff, all options are on the table, trying to close the revenue gap. How do you do that? Provide more options for your media partners to put out there, right? I mean, if you want your partner who runs the ACC network to give you more money, you have to ensure that you have good quality programming options, which is what? More football games, better football games. You need your league to, quite frankly, just perform better, right? I think that's from a football standpoint. I think basketball-wise, baseball-wise, some of the non-traditional sports, the ACC does just fine. I think they're putting teams in the national spotlight, putting teams in the tournament. putting teams consistently. They're having half the Sweet 16 in college basketball. You're talking about Dukes and the North Carolinas, and you've seen Florida States have their program, come to the forefront on the basketball side. I think football, the revenue driver, you need teams to do better, right? You need your Florida States. You need your bigger schools. And you say, well, what does that mean? Oh, it's just like you need your Virginia Techs, your North Carolinas, your Florida States, your Clemsons, your NC States to perform because they're the ones, biggest stadiums, biggest fan bases, biggest alumni bases. You need those teams to perform well. And I think that's the challenge there for Jim Phillips. But I don't know, Ben, if I read between the lines, all options on the table, he's making phone calls trying to find more universities who bring it to the fold to make themselves that much more attractive to either media partners or, as he said, hey, our grant of rights deal is through 2036. Change enough to say, hey, we got to rework this deal because we're not the same conference. That's the only way I can interpret that from Commissioner Phillips.
Kevin, isn't it a certain theme that went on at the Big 12 media days and the ACC media days? They commissioned to stand up there. They're not talking about the upcoming season. They're not talking about welcoming the team. They're not talking about the previous season. They're not talking about, what they're looking forward to. They say, we open for business. We understand that we're in trouble right now. We understand that when you look at the Big Ten and the SEC, what they were able to do, secure their TV deals, add to their conferences, add to their programming, add to their strength. What have we done? Not much. The fact that Clemson is not the ACC defending champion, the fact that we don't know how DJU is going to look this year because why he's saying he was a little bit heavy coming out of the Cheez-It Bowl, and he's in the best shape of his life. How we hope that Miami and Mario Cristobal is going to get it done. North Carolina's replacing Sam Howell. We got new coaches all over the ACC right now. And NC State is probably our second best team. We in trouble. This TV deal we got, they're going to have to rework some things, but they are definitely not in the driver's seat. They don't hold any leverage right now. Can we get Notre Dame to actually, play in the ACC this year? That's probably going to be a no. But Kevin, he's doing damage control. They try to answer every question before you can ask it, even though people are going to still come out and say, yeah, but what are you going to do? Because the thing about it is you need Florida State to be good. You don't know. You need Miami to be good. You don't know. North Carolina, it'll be great if they're good. You don't know. Probably going to be NC State. How is Georgia Tech going to look? Talk about, Coach Cutcliffe not being, at Duke, for all these many years. It's just so many questions, Kevin. And that's the thing about, Greg Sankey. That's the thing about, Kevin Warren. And they're saying, look, when they step on the podium, man, I'm up and laughing and joking with y'all boys. I'm talking about TikToks and everything because we good over here.
Well, yeah.
Like we good. With the ACC.
A noticeably different mood.
With the ACC, the biggest thing is, Kevin, is can they redo this contract? Right? Can they redo it? If they do, they're going to have to add somebody. One, you hope you can get a Notre Dame to agree to play in the ACC. And who's going to be, I don't know, Kevin, who's going to be that other team or teams that you say, is it fan base? Is it geographic location? Is it how well they play in the conference? That's going to be some questions that have to be asked. But once again, that's what happened when you are, the commissioners, you don't see them that much unless you're watching, ACC Network and they're just making an appearance. It's rough on Mr. Phillips right now because he knows, man, we in trouble, man. I got to put on a happy face in front of y'all when I'm saying things like it's no doubt we're the best conference in the country. That's laughable because the whole thing about it is you're not top heavy like you want to be. If Miami's good, if North Carolina's good, if Florida State's good, if Clemson's good, you good. You don't need everybody to be good. But Wake, Pitt, that's who played in Charlotte last year. So yes, Kevin, with everything's going on, this is how you know. If we start our media days while another media days is going on, I'm trying to distract you. I'm trying to hope so. We hope for, what? Yeah, we got a bunch of people here. SEC would not start their media days on the last day that ACC media day. They wouldn't do that. I want all the, and right now, Kevin, it's for days. Once Oklahoma, Texas get here, does it go to 5? You see what I'm saying? So we'll see. But Mr. Phillips is doing all he can to do damage control.
Yeah, look, I think the bottom line, they need their football schools to play better. That's it. Clemson is there. You need a 1B. Although I do think when you look down, if NC State were to have a 10-win season, I don't know that it would garner the same type of attention that some others did. Like an Ole Miss or something like that for whatever reason. But I do think you need some schools like that to go out and perform. And perform consistently, especially when you have opportunities in the non-conference. That's been exceptionally poor the last few years. When you get outside the ACC, you don't perform well, and that's what people see from the outside looking in. We've got more to come. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin and Ben, SEC Media Days wrapping up today. ACC Media Days, or ACC Kickoff, as they call it, wrapping up today as well. So college football right on the cusp. What did Christian say? 45 days to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it is right around the corner, waiting to see what the media decided to do. But I would imagine you look at Ben, all the all the metrics that are out there. I saw the SEC Network's been running as like percent chance of winning each division, and for the East, it was hilarious. Georgia was at 95%, and I think Kentucky might have been second at 2%. Georgia and Alabama both with nearly 50% each chance of winning the league. Nobody else had over 1%. And it was poor Vanderbilt, man. Like in the East, it was Georgia had and then it was like 2%, 1%, and then it got down to Vanderbilt. And it was less than a 0.1% chance. We're going to be the best program in America.
Listen,
You have less than a 0.1% chance
listen,
of winning the East.
The odds makers. I get it. People say, "Yeah, man," but just they giving certain. No, that's saying that the overall favorite, the runaway favorite, gonna be those boys from Athens, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Bringing back three returning starters on defense. I think 8 returning starters on offense. They got the $100 million coach now. Congratulations to Kirby Smart. Signed a 10-year, $112 million, $112.5 million.
I was saying you almost shorted him half a million.
12 point. Mrs. Saban go, no, it's 112.5. I mean, we're gonna get one thing. No, but this Bulldog team, Kevin, you already know. I mean, they're replacing a lot, but who has more talent in them? This Kentucky team doesn't get enough credit for what they bring back at the quarterback position of Will Levis, even though I'm questioning Will Levis's, decision making, putting mayonnaise in coffee. That's
Oh
beyond,
yeah, I saw that.
that is beyond nasty.
I don't like coffee, but I've never seen a single human being put mayo in their coffee.
What's up with the weirdness coming out as of late? I mean,
for people that drink coffee at Pigskin Radio, seriously, because I don't know. What would be the benefit of putting mayo in your coffee? Like, does it make it creamy or something? Like, I don't know. I'm saying, why would you do it?
Once again, right?
Like, once you stir it in, you're not going to. But why would you do it?
This is the part of being, famous and weird, because you get to show your weirdness. I mean, Sam Howell. Yeah, I never had a burger, never had a steak, I never had real chicken, for real. But I carry chicken strips.
Yeah, nuggets and strips.
And then you got Patrick Mahomes. I'm gonna put ketchup on my steak.
But I'm asking for real. Like, do you drink coffee?
No,
I don't drink coffee either, so I don't understand.
If I need to quote,
I get people looking at it. It's like
that's ridiculous.
But once you stir it in, it's not like you're putting straight mayonnaise in your mouth. But like, why would you do? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you do that? Like, what does it mean? What does it do for the taste?
I don't know, Kevin. That's nasty.
Like, I understand.
Like when I saw it yesterday, I was like, what is he do? I said,
like, people put whipped cream on their coffees and stuff, and they stir it in to make it creamy, I guess. But what's the deal?
I put ketchup on eggs.
What does mayonnaise do for your coffee? I don't know.
That's called nasty tea. That's a different level of nasty too. Like, no, seriously. Like, you're not gonna start something new. Mayonnaise is meant for one thing: sandwiches. You put it on sandwiches, right? That's
you can put it in other stuff.
Well, you can put it on a hot dog. I'm not saying you can't put it on stuff. But Kevin,
hot dog is a sandwich.
I mean, listen, and cereal is soup. I don't care what no one says. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we thought we seen it all, right? And Kevin, if we're there and he does that, we go, no, don't just.
And apparently he did. There's video of him doing it.
I saw it yesterday. Will, what the hell, Will?
That's the guy that's going to win 10 games at Kentucky.
That's the thing. Like, if he start doing that, he started a trend list. You come to Kentucky, you put mayonnaise in your coffee. What?
I just want to know what it does. Like, that's all.
That's nasty.
I'm not doing it because I don't drink coffee.
Well, Kevin, Kevin, stop saying you don't do it because you drink coffee. No, even if you did, you're not doing that.
I don't know about that because people do weird stuff.
Nasty.
Like, people put peanuts in their Coke. I've done that before.
Fine.
But I'm like, but I've asked people, like, why do you do that? They're like, well, it just adds a little something. So I tried it one time. Like, I don't get the hype, but I'm okay. I tried.
That's
but
normal,
but I don't drink coffee. I don't like the smell of it. I don't like anything.
No one's gonna stop. Hold on. If you're doing something random and you take some peanuts and you put it in some Coke, somebody might ask you, hey, man, what's up with that? That's not bad. If we're sitting there at breakfast and you go over to get the mayonnaise and you go, yeah, man, they go, sometimes they're gonna tell me, somebody gonna go, with my mayonnaise, oh, here it is. You at your favorite coffee spot. What would you like? I would like a little hen or hazelnut, you know what I'm saying? And just a spoonful of mayo.
Just a little blue plate.
That's nasty, man. Like seriously, like Will, you're a hell
Put
of a player.
Put some Dukes in there.
Will, you're a hell of a player. You don't need to do
No,
that.
that was I don't really understand what that would do.
No salt, no sugar.
I wonder if he
no
doesn't.
cream.
I wonder if he just did that for that. Like he doesn't actually drink it that.
Yeah,
way.
he's
But
looking at us like we're supposed to, oh, that's the drink of champ.
we'll come back. Final hour, 3 and Out coming up next. Good to have you back here. Final hour of 3 and Out. We'll check in with our own Christian Gokel. Is expected to chat with Hudson Mason, Roman Harper, and had a chance to talk with Nolan Smith. Yesterday, we didn't get a chance to get to that, so we'll have that for you coming up here in the final hour of the program. But Ben, SEC Media Days wrapping up today. We'll wait to see what the media thinks about the projected order of finish. I imagine it's going to be Bama, Georgia, without question, there at the top. And then we'll see what happens, how it falls in after that. I would guess, based on what they have coming back, Ben, a lot of the media folks would pick Bama to win the SEC championship, Georgia 2, and go from there. So we'll have to wait and see what the official media vote is.
Kevin, you know, just like I know, when it comes down to who they're going to pick it for number 3, we was talking about that. Like, we already know who the clear-cut number 1 and number 2 is. I think, for my money, number 3 might be Kentucky right now, only because they're solid at the quarterback position. They're solid at the running back position. You know they're going to have a good offensive line. You know they're going to play scrappy defense. And, Kevin, we don't pick Kentucky because they're Kentucky. Not because they don't play well, because it's Kentucky. We just expect them to be the Kentucky of old. Well, and look, at number 4, surprise, surprise, I'm not picking Texas A&M. I'm going to go with Ole Miss. Texas A&M going to get a lot of hype but Kevin, you know, that 2022 recruiting class, they're not, for your money, you better hope they ain't playing this year. You hope they're going to, maybe 2023, 2024.
Maybe a few reps here and there, but yeah.
But so for my money, I think Kentucky, I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky was number 3, Ole Miss was number 4, or Kentucky number 3, Tennessee number 4, then maybe Ole Miss, Texas A&M, but
You're talking about just a total finish.
Just a total thing. I mean, in the East, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, Mizzou, obviously. I'm sorry,
South Carolina,
Mizzou, and Vanderbilt in the West. I mean, I'm gonna say it. I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be obviously Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, LSU. And Arkansas, oh man,
Auburn, Mississippi State.
Auburn, Mississippi. Only because the thing about Auburn is I just don't know. I don't know who's going to be at the quarterback position. And Kevin, you know this. Whenever it's a mess with the head coach and just brand new coordinators means brand new systems. Means guys got to get used to those new systems. Operate and perform in those systems. I like familiarity. I like having people that's been there before. I understand. Because new coaches mean they coach a certain way. They want you to run this defense a certain way. Tank Bigsby is probably one of the most talented players in the country, regardless in the SEC or not, at the running back position. And you just feel bad for the young man because you know they're going to put a lot on him. He's the most consistent thing you got at a running back position. Problem is you're not going to beat teams just running the ball every single play. Alabama doesn't even do that anymore. Like, sorry, I already won that way. Now we're going to get you running and passing the rock. But this SEC West is going to be interesting because those LSU fans, they're not waiting on you don't go from Notre Dame to LSU to try to get it right. He's going to have to, Brian Kelly going to have to find a way to get it done in a big way. Not expecting him to win the West, but we'll see what happens.
Let's go to the phones. We got our good buddy AC checking in with us. AC, what's happening?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my call. I have a question. So do you guys see Georgia Bulldogs competing as the national champion? Because now, Kirby Smart is saying they're not hunted. I mean, it seems like they're still motivated. They know they have to go through Alabama, but I just want to know how Georgia winning the whole thing again. Is my preseason win the whole thing? I'm going to jump on Ohio State Buckeyes bandwagon. I think Buckeyes will be more hungry because Ryan Day hasn't won a championship as the head coach. As the assistant, he got the job done with Urban Meyer. As a head coach, you have to get the job done. So I'm counting on, and I'm putting my money on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let me hear your reaction for the Georgia Bulldogs if they have what it takes to finish the job again and go back-to-back national champion. Thank you so much for taking my call. God bless you guys.
Hey, appreciate it, AC. Look, can they go back-to-back? I think they could. I don't think they will. And that's not a criticism of them. It's just who's gone back-to-back recently in college football. It's hard. Look, they may have to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game and then beat Alabama again or vice versa. I mean, and that's what's happened. Ironically, last 2 times Georgia's been to the national championship game, they've had to play Alabama. So I look at that. I think if Georgia, with their schedule, I don't know if you can afford much of a slip. If you lose to Oregon week 1, I think you got to run it out the rest of the way. Does Tennessee trip you up? Because I know people say, Georgia's replacing some parts of defense. I think come the end of the year, that defense is going to be really good. Early in the year, you might be able to sneak something on them. I think offensively, they're going to be solid. But can they run the gauntlet in the SEC again? That in and of itself is difficult. Then you got to go through Alabama, and then you probably got to go through Alabama again. I don't see Ohio State AC. Just give them your money because I think Alabama is just uberly talented, and you have the best offensive and best defensive player in the country. Plus, you got a great 5-star running back in Jahmyr Gibbs coming in, a great 5-star defensive back in
Ricks
from LSU, and that's to go along with the 5-star cats you already had on the team.
It's 5 for
So,
everybody.
I look at Alabama as they may be one of the most dangerous teams in college football this year, and I think for that reason, I just don't know if Georgia's going back to back. Kirby Smart can say, "Hey, we're hunting," and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
They can still wind up in the college football playoff.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going back to back.
Kevin, the hardest thing to do in any level of sports, definitely the higher up of sports you get. Sports in general. How many high school teams go back to back? It's hard to do it, right? Because so many things got to go your way. How many college teams go back to back? Hard to do it. This Georgia season last year, let's not take away the fact they had one of the, if not the most historic defense we've ever seen. That is not taking nothing away from Brock Bowers. It's not taking nothing away from that O-line. That's not taking nothing away from Stetson Bennett. They literally kept teams to 0 points last year, 4 or 5 times last year. This is the thing about it's hard to go back to back. A lot of things have to go your way. Who has the most potent offense in the SEC? That would be Alabama, because you got Bryce Young. You add Jermaine Burton. You talk about their running game. But who has the most explosive offense maybe in the country? And I'm talking about a team that got a shot to win it. That would be Ohio State. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, they got a receiver coming back that had 300 and some yards receiving in the bowl game. The thing about winning a national championship, when you go back to any one of those teams, what was their controversial moment that they had a chance to get over? I'm going to say this to Georgia fans, and I mean it wholeheartedly. If Alabama is at full strength in the national championship, is that game different? Yes, because when they were at full strength in the SEC championship game, what happened? I am not saying that Georgia doesn't win it. Kevin, if the only way to beat Alabama is by injury or making declarations before the season, it's going to be rough, because the X factor in college football is Alabama. Like, either you got to beat them to win the national championship or beat them to get to the national championship. So while Georgia is going to be loaded, we're talking about the tight ends. We're talking about the O-line. We're not talking about the receivers. We're talking about Nolan Smith. We're talking about Carter and company. 3 guys coming back from that defense the previous year ago. If you don't think a bunch of new guys going to matter, it does. Because the whole thing about it is winning the national championship, I'm telling you, it's not just about being the best team. It's about being the best team every single Saturday. So obviously, Georgia is one of the best teams in the country, right? The last thing people want to do is Clemson to have a resurgence. And I don't want that, because they're going to have the most confidence, because you know if they go undefeated. And that's the thing too, Kevin. Here go my BJ Bennett. Every game you win, you're closer to losing one, right? And sometimes you just run out of gas. So we'll see. But Georgia got as good a shot as any. But Kirby Smart, they hungry. They're going to be the Hunters. But so is Alabama, right? So is Ohio State. So is Clemson. So are the teams that meet the talent threshold is good enough to stay on the field with you long enough. But Kevin, like I said, they went undefeated last year. I mean, if Tennessee is good enough to do it, if Florida's good enough to do it, if Kentucky's good enough to do it, we will see. But you got to go out there and fight week in and week out. The gauntlet of the SEC is what it is, even if Georgia ran through it last year.
Yeah, a lot of challenges ahead. I think Georgia is again. And Christian just sent me a note, said the media vote will be out at 6. So unfortunately, we'll be done. We'll know that tomorrow there on the show what the media members voted to do. So Ben, you look at it. I think it's Georgia and it's Bama. You said you think Ole Miss might be a dark horse with Lane Kiffin. Now they're going to have a new quarterback. I don't know if there's a dark horse in the East. I think if anybody could get Georgia right now, I mean, Tennessee would up tempo in the way they move, maybe.
Georgia, but beating Georgia in the East. Let me say this: Nobody is unbeatable. I ain't never
Right,
been a fan
I
of-
agree.
but if a team can beat them, it is Tennessee. Tennessee was hanging with them for what, 2.5, 3/4 last year. This is the thing about, can Georgia be beat? Yes. Is Georgia gonna lose the East? No. They're not gonna lose the East, but they can be beat. And Kevin, I know Kirby Smart don't like these type of analytics, but winning the national championship could be who you lose to and when you lose to them. Because undefeated is not created equal in every single conference.
And we've seen that from time to time with Alabama, who's won it without winning, going to the SEC championship.
When Alabama loses, we'll say, all right, man, that's it. But they just won that because they're not going to lose again. When people start saying, who beat Alabama? People say, who beat Alabama? Like, what teams you mean? What? Okay, Tim Tebow and them beat them. Ohio State, that team beat them. Clemson and Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson beat them. And the most historic defense. Look at who I'm saying. A historic defense. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. Ohio State and Florida. They look. So when they lose, and I'm talking about on the big stage, look who has to do it. Ezekiel Elliott and Michael Thomas and company beat them. Cordell Jones and them. Tim Tebow and company. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and the Georgia Bulldogs. So if you didn't hear, I'm sorry, man. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, Johnny Manziel, Heisman Trophy winner. He beat him. What's up about that played at Ole Miss? I can't think his name right now. He's Jim Kelly's nephew. They beat him.
Chad Kelly.
They beat him. But it's the thing though, Kevin. They don't lose often. And guess what? Yeah, they lost twice last year. They lost in the regular season, and they lost in the national championship. To two former assistants. Isn't that ironic? Two former assistants beat him. That was they said the year to beat the Tide was 2021. What about 2022? I hope you got it all out last year because you know what? We talking about Georgia being hunted. They don't ask Alabama what their theme is. They Alabama. They don't need a theme.
We're gonna go win it. That's what Nick Saban's theme is.
They still won the SEC. So at the end of the day, they still got some rings, not the ring they want. And Kevin, you know, it's about every recruiting. Their pitch is every recruiting class wins a natty. What if you come through here, you're gonna win a natty. He finally got the Heisman Trophy winner at the quarterback position. Will Anderson said, "I'm going for the Heisman this year in 2022." Bryce Young said, "I want it all," and I just got Jermaine Burton and Jameer Gibbs to help me do it.
Is disgusting how much talent Nick Saban has got, even in the transfer report. I mean, like I said, hey, we're gonna make the transfer report. Make it. He's still winning.
Linebackers here, Tolan, used to be at Tennessee,
and now we want to make it where guys can just transfer all the time. It's like, hey, I want to go to Alabama. I got 1 year left. Going to go to Alabama, so I can try to cash in. We got so much to get to here in the final hour of 3 and Out. We'll get more from our own Christian Gokel at SEC Media Days coming up next. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. a part of your day. And a lot of action this week from Atlanta and SEC Media Days. Tyrone Quinn on hand all week as we check in with him. He's standing by with a former Georgia quarterback, Hudson Mason, here on 3 and Out.
Welcome back into our continuing coverage of SEC Media Days. Christian Gokel, glad to have you hanging out with us here. Sit across from me, a former Dog himself, a name a lot of you guys remember, some wonderful memories from his time as the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs, now with 680 The Fan in Atlanta, co-host of the Locker Room in the Morning here. Hudson Mason, kind enough to save some time, but on a more personal note, dude from right down the road, right down Shallowford, Lassiter and Kell High School, just cutting it up here.
Yeah, man. Go Trojans, right? Go Trojans and go Dogs.
No, hook 'em.
I was actually in Charleston, South Carolina for July 4th weekend, and the waiter who was waiting on us was a Lassiter Trojan and a former Georgia Bulldog cheerleader.
Wow.
What are the chances, that you meet somebody not only from the same high school, but
same college,
was same college and connected to the football program like that. So you never know who you're going to run into.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you graduated, all-time leading passer in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, at the time. Now
a couple of good ones have come through since then.
Yeah, I think a lot of those records have been shattered by the likes of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and guys like that. But yeah, at the time, fun times. We were throwing the ball all over the yard, and some of my best football memories in general are high school football memories at Lassiter.
Very quietly, Georgia has become one of the best quarterback states in the country. I mean, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields off like the top of mind, right? A couple of NFL guys went really high in the draft, played for national championships in the not too distant past. The past 3 guys that have led Georgia to national championships, all from the state of Georgia, and of course the last 2 to win one from the state of Georgia. I know that Kirby, maybe not so much, but in the past, people like to get exotic going out after their quarterbacks, but it just seems like, hey, stay in state, quarterback's pretty good.
There's no doubt. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I think Georgia is the best high school state when it comes to high school football talent, tradition. I think we've got some of the best coaches across the country, if not the best. It's why a lot of kids move across the country to come play in Georgia. And you look at the numbers every single year, the kids that go on to play Division I football, the kids that play in the NFL, who all come, from the state of Georgia. It's a fun place to grow up, and it's a place that really loves and pours their heart and soul into high school football.
Now, I want to take a look at Stetson, of course, but the weapons that he has, as you're sitting there as a quarterback kind of evaluating those rooms, right? I don't know that the wide receivers get enough credit because A.D. Mitchell, I think, could be really special. Kyrus Jackson has been rock solid for his entire career. Ladd McConkey turned into a really good receiver. And then the tight end room is ridiculous. So as he's having conversations with Todd Monken about what this offense is going to look like, if you had to guess, what do those conversations look like right now?
I think it probably depends on what Todd Monken deems as Stetson Bennett's strengths.
Yeah.
I think as a coordinator, and this is something that I think definitely benefits the relationship of Todd Monken and Stetson Bennett this year, is Stetson is the guy. And finally, he's the guy. And you're going into a year where, as a play caller, who your quarterback is.
Right.
I can't tell you how beneficial that is as a play caller, knowing that, okay, I know, barring injury, that this is my guy, and I can build and craft a game plan and install during camp around the strengths, but also know kind of what to stay away from in terms of the weaknesses of my quarterback. And so you take that and you start to kind of build an identity and a DNA of what you want to look like offensively. And obviously anybody who's called plays and will call plays for Kirby Smart, it's going to start with running the football.
Right.
I mean, they're not just going to go air raid. But I do think that Stetson, there's really no major deficiencies in his game. Is he a future first-round NFL quarterback? Is he Bryce Young? Is he C.J. Stroud? No. But I saw a ton of improvements from 2020 to 2021 in his game. I think last year he improved the most in accuracy and deep ball confidence.
Yeah.
I saw a guy that I didn't think was very confident throwing the deep ball in 2020. Last year, he was one of the best in the country in yards per attempt, pushing the ball down the field, which you see in college football now. You have to have an element of that offense, explosiveness. It's just too hard to go 10, 11, 12-plus plays and get points. So, obviously, the tight end group is really special. And, when you think about some of the best position groups in college football, I would put Georgia's tight end group up there with Clemson's D-line group, Ohio State's wide receiver group. I mean, the 3 tight ends that they've got are just absolute freaks, and the things that they'll be able to do not only in the middle of the field, but in the red zone, with the size and the athleticism and the versatility of Darnell Washington and Eric Gilbert. And you remember last year, was it the SEC championship game? They got down by the red zone and
where he just kind of mossed Henry To'oTo'o.
Just threw it up. Henry To'oTo'o was guarding Darnell Washington, and it was like when your dad plays pickup basketball when you're like 8 years old. There's nothing you can do about it.
It's like trying to jump with LeBron. Like you're not going to do it. Yeah.
I mean, those are the mismatches that Todd Monken can really use to his advantage.
And with those tight ends, how do you see him using them? Do you try to get them all on the field at the same time? Just because they all, I feel like, have different skill sets. Eric Gilbert, I feel like, can play out into the slot and be, or even an X if you get down into the red zone. Obviously, Darnell Washington is a mismatch, but also basically another tackle when he puts his hand in the dirt. And then Brock Bowers is just a freak.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's a way they get all of them involved at the same time?
I could absolutely see a personnel package this year where 3 tight ends are on the field. I mean, the job of a coach is not to be loyal to a certain package, right? And when I say package, like, oh well, we've never had 3 tight ends on the field, so I don't know if we can run that. No, your job as a coach is what gives you the best chance to move the ball down the field, and if that's 3 tight ends on the field at a time, then figure out a way to use Eric Gilbert on the field. Maybe he's attached at the traditional tight end spot. Maybe he lines up sometimes to the boundary as an X receiver, and you call an RPO where you've got it's based on numbers, and if you've got the look outside, you can throw that option route or that slant or that hitch out there, and if you got the numbers in the box, that's more advantageous to run. Like, those are the type of things. I think as a quarterback, you really just want options, the option to get into the right play, and there's a couple different ways you can do that, and I think that's what the versatility of using different packages to your advantage, starting with the tight end group. Typically, you don't see 3 tight ends on the field at the same time,
right?
Unless it's short yardage
or it's Wisconsin
or it's goal line, or it's Wisconsin. And I don't think any Georgia fan wants to say they want Wisconsin's offense.
Sure.
Maybe
in some situations, but not all.
But the thing that should excite Georgia fans this year is you got tight ends that can act like receivers. I mean, Brock Bowers, guy can line up at slot. We saw that all the time last year. So it's a special group. I hope they stay healthy because they could be one of the best position groups in the country.
Now, I did want to go back to Stetson here and just kind of a positive and a negative, right? Positive-wise, going back, watching the national championship, and obviously I think this is probably the reason he got the nod early in the season once JT Daniels was healthy. Going back to the national championship game, you look on the sideline, and it felt like all the players were looking to him. What have you, in your experience, catching up with him, talking to him, seeing him practice? What is it about his personality, that dude who was a walk-on, came back on scholarship after leaving the team, was buried on the depth chart? We all know the story, but just something about his personality, it seems like the team wanted to follow him.
I just think his teammates have respect for him because of his story. It's his 7th year of college football. Can you believe that? If you include 2018 his community college JUCO experience, his 6th year at Georgia, it's a lot of experience. And he's been through a lot. I mean, he showed up and, was obviously a walk-on. And let me tell you from experience, like, when you're a walk-on, you don't exactly get the same treatment in the same amount of all these to prove yourself as a scholarship guy. It's like being a 7th-round draft pick versus a 1st-round draft pick. The reality of it is those scholarship players, scholarship quarterbacks, the Easons, the Froms of the world, the Fields of the world, had every opportunity to mess up.
Yeah, they have to prove they can't play.
Exactly. Yeah. Those guys get to prove they can't play before a guy like Stetson got to prove that he could play. Yeah. That's the difference in the two. And so I think just respect from where he's come from to where he is now, and he's produced on the field, and he's stepped up in big moments. That's what you got to be able to do as a quarterback, and that's why I think it was so important, and I get so frustrated with media members, and I feel like it's just disrespectful when I see him on, these preseason lists as 10th best quarterback in the SEC. Crazy. I saw Pro Football Focus had him as the 42nd overall quarterback. It's just flat out disrespectful because you're ignoring what he did last year in big moments on the biggest stage, MVP in the college football playoff game. The drives, couple big throws in the second half to clinch that national championship against Alabama. As a quarterback, all you can ask for is that guy step up when his number's called, and that's exactly what 13 did last year.
Yeah, I think we as media can get confused sometimes when we're talking about quarterbacks or football players in general between college football quarterback and a pro prospect.
Yeah,
and I think lot of times when we're ranking them, we're looking at pro prospect.
Absolutely.
I think a guy like Kellen Moore, right? Maybe not a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Obviously had a pretty good NFL career, now obviously coaching, but nobody wanted to coach against him in college. You did not want to play that dude because of how good he was. And I feel like we kind of do that with Stetson. We look at his measurements, but we don't look at how he plays.
There's no doubt. But and obviously, too, the defense that he had last year, people just want to give credit to the defense. And there's no doubt that defense was extraordinary and did carry the team. But at times, I get frustrated because if you look at the numbers statistically, it's not like that offense was a bunch of They averaged 38 points per game.
I think he was third in QBR in the country. Yeah.
I mean, so the defense just got so much of the credit, so much of the attention. It was easy to gloss over what the offense was doing, and they were explosive. And it'll be interesting to see what they look like without Jermaine Burton. I thought he was the one guy that was the guy who you could depend on to stretch the field, keep defenses in two high safeties, prevent them from loading the box. I thought that was a big loss. So who can really step up and replace his presence as a deep ball threat to push the ball vertically? And as you've heard Kirby Smart say, you have to have an element of explosive plays in your offense this day and age to win championships in college football.
We'll catch up with former Georgia quarterback Hudson Mason, now co-host of The Locker Room on 680 The Fan. The negative side of it, and I think you kind of touched on this when you said having an offseason to be the number one guy, but I think a lot of Georgia fans last year that wanted to support Stetson, sometimes during those games there'd be like those 2-3 drive stretch, and we kind of saw a first half in the national championship where it's just like it kind of felt like boneheaded play after boneheaded play after boneheaded play. Maybe he was forcing it, whatever it was, but it just seemed like every game there was a stretch where you were like, that's not bad, that's just kind of ugly.
The first half of the national championship game, was a jitters, was a ball. I don't get too much caught up in that because
maybe
I think
first half of Florida, another good example.
I think you're going to have bad games.
I
remember when can't remember what year it was. We went down to LSU and we lost on the road. And
that was a butt kicking.
Yeah, we didn't play well, and Jake didn't play well either. And that next week we had a bye week, I believe, and then we played Florida. Jake came back and balled out. Played incredible. And I remember, because I was working in media at the time, I was with 680. I remember the people in the media were like, we need Justin Fields. That's when Fields was a freshman. Why didn't Kirby play Fields? Fields should be playing. And I remember the way Jake responded that next week with a lot of people questioning in the media if he should be the guy, if Kirby should be playing another guy. He played phenomenal against Florida. We beat Florida. I think he threw 3 touchdown passes, didn't have an interception. And those are the performances that I'm talking about when – you're going to have a bad day at the office. It's how you respond. It's how you handle the criticism. It's how you handle when people are doubting you, the mental toughness that it takes to play that position when people are doubting you, when people are calling for your job week in and week out. Can you answer the bell time and time again? And that's what I admire so much about Stetson Bennett is he is mentally tough. He does not care genuinely what you think about him. And I often wonder if he hears the disrespect.
I think he does.
I know he has a flip phone, so he tried. He's not probably the most active guy on social
a flip
media.
Phone, but he posted an Instagram story after the national championship, so I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I've got the iPhone. I'm a true millennial, so he does seem like he tries to kind of isolate himself from that outside noise, but to an extent, it is impossible to 100% eliminate. But I do often wonder, does he hear the disrespect? Does he hear that chatter about, last year was just the defense, don't give it. So he's a guy that I think hears it and truly knows how to use it to his advantage.
Before we let you get out of here, Georgia with a big game to start this season, right? And does that change the offseason? I don't know. You started with Clemson. Your senior year in Athens, just leading up to it, having that marquee game. Does that kind of change the energy leading up in the offseason?
No doubt. The energy, the dog days of summer when you're out there working out and you've got, 6 weeks and then you got to go through camp and it feels like football season is so far away. Football's so unique in the sense that compared to basketball and baseball, you don't get to play a lot. Like you practice way more than you did. Right. That's what's rare to football. And so at times it can be a real grind. And it feels like, in the off season, like between mat drills and summer conditioning, that week 1 is so far away. So when you have a big time opponent like that, it absolutely changes the energy. It puts a little more pep in your step, gives you a little bit more something to look forward to work hard for in the off season when you need a little bit of motivation.
Awesome. Hudson Mason, former Georgia quarterback, now co-host of The Locker Room on 680 The Fan. Hudson, I really appreciate the time, man. I know you got to go listen to Kirby, but always great catching up.
Thanks, man.
That was our own Christian Gokel with Hudson Mason, former Georgia quarterback. We're coming back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
More 3 and Out on ESPN Radio Coastal Georgia. AM 790 and FM 103.7 is on the way. Presented by Walker Jones, South Georgia's
as SEC Media Days continue on, and our own Christian Gokel has been there all week long bringing us great stuff, and he's standing by there at the College Football Hall of Fame with an absolute legend, Roman Harper, joining us here on 3 and Out.
I don't know how our fans are going to feel about our next guest because I know we're Falcons heavy and a Georgia football heavy team. But listen, great respect's great. And our next guest is one of the all-time greats in the SEC, Roman Harper, kind enough to take a couple minutes with us here on ESPN Radio. Roman, I know there's some people that hear your name right now that are fans of the Falcons and of Georgia, like, him?
I just
Really?
never
I thought
go
we
away.
thought we were done with him.
I never go away. Just know that. I never go away. First of all, I mean, I'm a big Georgia Bulldog fan personally, growing up in Alabama. So I always liked the red and those dogs. But, you know, last year, I mean, they can't be too mad at me. I picked them to win it all, and they did.
But listen, it was a very wise prediction there. Today, though, Alabama Day, Nick Saban getting through with all of that. And I actually just heard you talking about this. With as good as this team is and the amount of just superstar players, potential top 10 picks they have on it, anything less, it feels like an undefeated national championship would be a disappointment.
You know, because you play in the SEC, it's not so much about just going undefeated anymore, but the end goal and the end result must be the same, and that is a national championship for this Alabama team, because you have the star power and you have the most important position check marked, the biggest check mark, and that's Bryce Young. And then on the other side of it, you have Will Anderson. So they will have the best player on offense and defense, no matter who they play all year long. When they go against Georgia, possibly in the SEC championship, you can talk about Jalen Carter and his dominance, but and you'll still take an edge rusher more than a D tackle any day of the week, and depending on, I don't care what GM you are. So those are the things that are important. And because of those two players, that is why I'm continuing to say it over and over again. It has to be that. And if not, it will be one of the more disappointing seasons, if not the most disappointing season for Nick Saban.
I've been saying it, but do you feel like it's hyperbolic to say that Will Anderson might be the best defensive player Nick Saban's ever had?
I've said it for 2 years now. I'm not afraid to say it because I've seen the other guys. And yes, other guys are very talented.
Yeah.
But you saw what he did last year. It was something special to watch, and he's grown into that player. And if you saw him in his suit today, he looked like Clark Kent walking around here. The suit looked like it was painted on him.
I think Tim Tebow's the only person with tighter pants on today.
The guy, and it's not like they're just fitted, but he's built like that. He's a very young, very large young man, and he is even a better person. You know, getting to know his parents over the last year and a half, it's been really cool just seeing him at different events and different places. And he couldn't have came from a better place. And you know, he understands the magnitude in which everything that he speaks and that every word that he says, people are holding on to that. And I think he's very he's intentional with his words, and he understands the pressure that comes with that. He understands the pressure that is playing at Alabama, and he understands that all the great things that have happened before him, and that he wants to make sure he measures up and leaves the bar just as high or higher than when he leaves off that campus. And we all understand it. It's probably his last year, and it should be. I mean,
absolutely.
He would have been the number one pick last year.
I think Nick Saban's probably telling him, listen, after this one, you got to go.
You got to go. And because he'll just be another check mark for Alabama and all the other first rounders. And he is legit. And it'll be interesting to see how this thing kind of always unfolds. But, you know, it's never perfect. We always know that. But this team they do need to go out there and play and be perfect because they have the ability. Because anything perfect is almost, it's not enough for them.
You know you're really good when Jimbo Fisher is suggesting you should probably just go ahead and sit this season out. Romo, before we let you go, we're on the station with Ben Troop playing in the early 2000s with the Florida Gators there. You obviously playing in the early 2000s as well. So the conversation we always have, and it's hard to push him off of it, what's the best era of SEC football? He maintains that early 2000s, it's tough to beat that. And you think about all the greats that played on those teams. It's hard to argue, but there's so many different great generations. In your mind, what's the golden era?
Well, it is. I mean, anytime. Well, the worst part about the early 2000s, we still had Jefferson Pilot Sports. That early kickoff game was tough for a lot of us.
I can imagine.
But the games are so different now. I don't think there is, one that's so much better than the other. You can say that. We can debate that all day, but the style of play has completely changed. It's more wide open. Everybody spreads you out to get their athletes more in space. And, I talked to my friend. I was just joking with Jonathan Vilma, and he was saying how great his Miami Hurricanes teams are. And I'm like, yeah, it is great, but you guys would have never made it because you already been kicked out for targeting. So, the rules and the game have all changed and evolved so much that you would have to learn how to play inside the game of these rules now. And it would be different, but I'm not – I guess that's a terrible way to answer your question without answering it. But I do think the athletes are getting more and more machine-like now. They're bigger, they're faster. They continue to build them in different ways. They're more training at an earlier age. You know, you see some of these kids, 14, 15 years old, getting recruited. They're huge.
Yeah.
And so it is a special little uniqueness about it. I'm not going to say the kids now are not as tough or whatever. I mean, back in the 70s, they were way more mentally tough than what we were in the early 2000s. I mean, water was for weakness, right?
Yeah,
so
salt tablets.
Yeah, it's like it's a total different ball game. So everybody has their positives and negatives to the whole deal. And at the end of the day, I just love SEC football. I grew up watching it. It's the best, and now it's truly the best conference in the country, and the best athletes from all over the country all come and they want a piece of it. And though that is why we get the product that we get on every Saturday.
All right, that was a very, very diplomatic and political answer there. So let me see if I can get one out of you that's not so much. They split Ben Troop out on 3rd and 7. Ron Zook throws them out there. You locking them up?
He would say I'm locking him up. There's no question. Like, I didn't give up catches in college, bro. That never happened. Absolutely never happened. It happened sometimes on Sundays too. But it was just always tough, man. Look, if I could lock down Tony Gonzalez at times, then I definitely could lock up Ben Troop. I'm just telling you.
I would introduce myself like that. Hey, Roman Harper, I locked up Tony Gonzalez. It's nice to meet you. Roman, man, I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us here. I know you're a busy man, but always great catching up with you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it, man. Good luck to you guys this year.
That was Christian Gokel standing by with Roman Harper. Has done a great job with us all week long there in Atlanta with the SEC Media Days, and college football feeling closer by the minute. We've still got more to come here on this Thursday. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
More 3 and Out on ESPN Radio Coastal Georgia. AM 790 and FM 103.7 is on the way. Presented by Walker Jones, South Georgia's automotive superstore and home of the lifetime warranty.
at the College Football Hall of Fame and collecting stories and interviews from around all 14 teams there in the Southeastern Conference. I know everybody's getting geared up, ready for football, but we'll check back in with Christian one more time here before we step out on 3 and Out. He had a chance to catch up with Savannah native Nolan Smith. Big piece of that Dogs defense coming back again this year, and Christian had a chance to catch up with Nolan there at SEC Media Days.
Welcome back into ESPN Coastal's continuing coverage of SEC Media Days. And the guy whose sack ended the national championship, brought the trophy back home to Georgia, a Savannah native, a guy I know a lot of y'all know, Nolan Smith, kind enough to take some time with us here from Media Days in Atlanta. Nolan, first thing I wanted to ask you about, man, is you could have been getting ready for a season in the NFL right now. Instead, you're here talking via SEC Media Days, coming back to try to defend a national championship. What went into that decision to come back?
The ultimate thing that went into my decision is just me being able to, look in the mirror every day and say, am I ready to leave, or was I ready to leave? And to being able to leave with my degree, I just feel more comfortable in life, just having a backup plan. But ultimately, I just think I can get myself a lot better and to be a first-round pick like I want to be. Like, my dream is to be top 10.
Certainly a top 10 talent, a young defense that you're coming back to, because a lot of your friends from last year in the league now, but a ton of talent. Right? Who are some guys that are stepping in to fill up some of those positions that we need to know now?
I'd say some big guys that you should be watching out for is our whole inside linebacker room, because a lot of people think we lost a lot of inside linebacker room. Coach Schumann always has that room together. They lose 2 to 3 guys to the draft every year, and I think they're going to have the most eyes on them, but they're going to be the most impressive. And also Marvin Jones is one of the young guys. And then I can't wait for people to see Pop and Smile. We just got a lot of young guys on the team that wasn't able to show their talent just because they had first rounders in front of them.
Absolutely. And you're a Savannah native, right? And I think we've seen over the past few years, you were certainly a part of it. That's becoming a real hotbed of recruiting around the country now. It doesn't seem like you could turn on a football game on Saturday without seeing a guy from that area. You have all the wide receivers that were up at West Virginia together at the same time, a bunch of amazing defensive linemen that have come out of there. Has it always been like that, and people have just started paying attention to the last few years?
Yeah, I personally think we play the best football in down South Georgia, and I play with 3 guys that are from South Georgia, literally on our defense. Trayvon is from the middle of Georgia. Quay is from Cordele, Georgia, and I'm from Savannah. So I just think we have a lot of talent down there. We just got to bring it out.
Now, you guys getting ready for Oregon, taking on your old defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning there, and a quarterback that you're very familiar with Bo Nix and the Ducks. When you're looking at this Oregon team, if you guys are starting to get ready for them, what have you seen so far? I know not quite to field prep yet, just focusing on getting better right now, but from what you know about this Oregon team, how good of a game should we expect?
We should expect a good game, and I know Coach Lanning is going to have them prepared to the fullest because he prepared me for 3 years before every game. So I just know they're going to have their T's crossed and their I's dotted.
Nolan, finally here, as you guys are getting ready for the start of the season, get a ton of talent everywhere, all across the board. What have you seen on the other side of the ball? Stetson Bennett, another South Georgia guy, back for his 6th year now inside of college football, defending national championship quarterback. How scary is that offense to try to defend during practice?
Man, I know we got a lot of good guys. I mean, Ladd, AD, Brock Bowers, Big O, and then our O-line is just, they're moving as one unit, and it's really early for them to be doing that, and they look really good. So I just think as far as our offense is going to push us, defense is only going to get better each and every day.
Nolan Smith, kind enough to take some time with us, getting ready to try to defend that national championship. It all starts on September 3rd there in Mercedes-Benz, right across the street from where we're sitting right now. Nolan, thank you so much for taking the time. I know the people listening back home really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Go Dogs.
That was our own Christian Gokells. He had a chance to catch up with Nolan Smith, and Georgia going to be an overwhelming favorite here in 2022 to take care of things in the SEC East. That's going to do it for us today. No Braves tonight as the All-Star break. We're coming out the other side. Braves will be back tomorrow with the Angels in town. Should be Max Fried and Shohei Ohtani. So a lot to talk about ahead of that matchup. Of course, we're entering the home stretch for the trade deadline in MLB as well. So a lot of possibilities out there for the Atlanta Braves. We'll see you tomorrow, Friday edition of 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
Toucan's is closed right now, but you can come and